Hey guys, so in this video we're going to continue with the ladder, and first thing I want to set up is that when we interact with it, we're going to position player directly in front of it and also start our climbing animation. So for that, let's go to player, and in the event graph let's create new custom event. So add custom event, and this will be move to ladder. Here we'll need a couple of the inputs. First one will be scene component, and it is the one from the ladder where we're going to position player. So enter ladder scene or position. No, let's do scene. Enter ladder scene, and second variable will be ladder BP object reference. This will be ladder reference. Now compile it, and let's go to ladder in the event graph. Before I forget, here on out of range we also need to hide this interact from one more time. We do have it in the parent, but we're calling this function, and that one makes it visible and doesn't hide it again. So set visibility to hidden, and then on interact we're going to check if we are facing front, which is the variable we set up in this function is in front, because we don't want to teleport to ladder if we are behind it. And this one I made a mistake, so this is supposed to be false and this is true. So here, if we are facing front, we're going to get player reference. We don't have it here because it's only in the parent, and we're going to call move to ladder on true. For enter ladder scene, we have this scene, but it is a little bit messed up because we repositioned the ladder and it didn't go with it. So let's make it a child of static mesh. I'm going to reset the values, so it's in the middle of the ladder as well on the bottom. We're going to drag it out, maybe here, and then move it like 90 up on the Z value, because we're going to move our player to this position, and if you leave it on the floor it can mess up the whole movement. So move it in the air, something like this. And also for ladder, I'm going to do custom collision and turn off the camera so it doesn't block camera when we're behind it. And now in the event graph we can get this scene. I'm going to rename it also, which will be enter ladder scene or position. This will be position, and this we will connect it to scene, and ladder reference will be self. And now in the player we're going to, from this scene, get world location, also get world rotation, and then set actor location and set actor rotation. So these two are for player, for self, and we're going to set location from location, rotation from rotation. One more thing I just realized in the scene, that enter ladder position, we need to rotate it, otherwise the player will be facing away from the ladder. So move it 180. And now we do have these two set up. And we're also going to create a new variable which will tell us is on ladder. And we'll set it to true now. So we're setting location and rotation, and we can actually test it out. So now when we go to interact with the ladder, even if I'm here, it will move the player, teleports him directly there. And what I wanted to do as well is do a motion warping animation, so we will do that probably in the next video because it takes quite a lot of time and I don't want to waste it here. I want to finish the ladder. But we will basically, when we interact with it from like here, we will actually walk towards the front of the ladder and then start climbing. That is the plan. But for now, let's just continue with this. So we are positioned in front of the ladder. What we also want to do is only move up and down now. So we need to set set movement mode from character movement. And we're going to change it to flying. And then for the movement component, we can select it here or here on the side, and we're going to search for max fly speed, which is now 600. It's way too much. I'm going to change it to 150. And one more thing, max of fly deceleration, braking deceleration flying. At the moment it's set on 0, so if we were to go up and down and then release the arrows, we will just keep moving. We never stop because it doesn't have any braking deceleration. So we need to set it to something very high, like 3000, and that will stop the player when we release the keys. And this won't just work by itself. We need to also do some functionality in the movement. So I do have movement in this node. Go here, let's drag this back. This is set up by default in the Unreal. It's basically when you press any arrow keys to move, it will check if it's the left or right movement or up and down movement, and just moves basically depending on that. So do branch here. It also checks it on tick, so we can connect is on the ladder. And if we are, we're going to copy this add movement input. And then we need to get control rotation. We need to split it, and we also need to get up vector. So get up vector and split this one as well. Then we're going to connect only Z value because we want to move only up and down. Connect it to world direction, and for scale value we need to connect Y. And the reason is because X goes to right vector, which is left and right, and Y leads to forward vector, which is up and down. So we're going to be checking only when we're pressing up and down and doing this. Compile and save. And now when we play the game, I forgot to connect something. Oh yeah, false needs to go back to movement input. So now I can move. I press E, I'm in front of the ladder, press arrow, I go up, I go down. And you can see that's working fine. I can't go left or right, but then here on the bottom you can see there is a little bit of kind of like a lag when it touches the floor and skips the last part, and that is because of the foot placement. It's trying to place the foot on the ground, so it doesn't work correctly, but we can change that in the animation. So if you open your animation blueprint, best thing is just to select mesh here, anim class, search for it. By default it's ABP money, and it's this IK trace, which is quite complex function, so I'm not going to do tutorial on it as well. But what we can do is just turn it off. So we can just disconnect it from here, and we won't be doing IK trace, which won't really change anything. It just won't be doing foot placement correctly, but it still works for our sprint and everything else is fine. It's just some of the animations might be actually improved without this, but I'll show you how to do it with the variable, so we can keep it as well if you like. Just don't delete it, because even if you're not using it now, we will probably be using it eventually. So in the event graph now, you do have this sequence, add a pin here. We need to get a player reference, so cast to player BP. We don't need to get player character because by default it's set up here to get owning actor, which is us, and then variable is character. So that will be the reference. And as player BP we need to get is on ladder. And then we're going to promote it to variable here in the animation blueprint, so we can keep track of it as well. Can be named the same thing, so is on ladder. And this also updates on tick, so as soon as you change it in the player it will change here. And we will also need the vertical speed at which we're moving, because we do have that blend space set up and that takes value of speed. Here by default you got velocity, which we can use. So essential movement data and get velocity, and from that we will get vector length. Vector, it's not get, sorry, it's vector length. Vector length. And we'll promote that to vertical speed. So it's just checking the movement of the character basically, but we're only gonna be able to move up and down when we're on the ladder, so that will work. And now you do have this variable, so back in the anim graph, if you wanted to enable it, you can do from here and boolean and is on the ladder not boolean, so not true. And then should do IK trace only if these are not true, and then we will be doing it, and you can connect it back and it will work the same. I'm just gonna leave it disconnected because I think in some of the animations it will be a little bit of problem again. So for now I'll leave it like this. Go to event graph. Okay, now we can set up the animation, our blend space. So go to anim graph. In the locomotion, open it up, and most of you probably seen this already. So this is basically how it transitions between the different animation state. So from idle it goes to walk and run only depending on these boolean variables. So here you can see that if we should move, then it's going to go walk and run, walk or run. And if you should not move, so if you're not moving, it goes to idle, and here it just plays the idle animation, and here you got actually blend space set up with the ground speed. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to right click, add state, and this will be climbing ladder. And we're going to set up these transitions, so drag from idle, connect it to climbing ladder and back to idle. Then if you're going to ladder, we're going to transition by is on the ladder variable. Then go back to locomotion, then this one that goes back, double click on it, and is on the ladder not boolean, so we are not on the ladder anymore, and we will stop doing the animation. And the animation itself in the climbing ladder will be the blend space, which is climbing ladder, as the one we have set up in a previous one. So if our speed is -100, it will go down, 0 idle, and 100 goes up. Connect it, and vertical speed we have just set up, so connect vertical speed. And now that should be all of it, so let's test it out, play the game, and if I now press climb, I do have idle animation already, so position seems to be good. Obviously don't mind the hands because that's very hard to position as well. Even if you change it in animation, then you can do with the player stuff like this. I can move out like really slowly, like keep pressing the button, and it will still be in the middle of it. So unless you're doing like IK trace for your hands, then it's very hard to position, but from the back it looks quite nice. So you can now move up and down, and maybe I might change the speed. If you feel like your character is sliding too much, like on the ladder, that it doesn't look like natural climbing, you can slow down the speed as well. I think it looks fine. So now we are climbing, which is what we wanted. And now we can set up that when we reach the top, we're going to play that exit animation, which was the second one I have included. Animation, and it was climbing ladder exit, this one here. In here, enable root motion, and we can also create a montage from it. So create any montage. And now inside the ladder, we have already set up this exit box, which is collision box. And so once we overlap with it, let's go to graph. So select the box and on component begin overlap. We're going to check if overlapped components, or the actor equals player. And if it does, then we probably need to set up one more custom event in the player. So just going to close everything else, go to event graph, and then here we're going to do custom event, and this will be exit ladder. And just in case, I know we got ladder reference that we can promote to variable, but we might be going from the top as well. Just in case, I'm going to set up ladder reference on this exit animation as well. And in here, what I want to do is just set this boolean value to, or variable to false. We're going to play montage. So play montage, you got two nodes, play any montage or play montage. I'm going to use this one, the play montage one, connect the mesh of our character. Montage to play will be climb ladder exit, player at 1, static position 0, we don't have to change anything there. And then once on completed only, don't drag it from this one because it will go straight away. Only when it's completed, we'll get character movement, and we'll set movement mode to walking. So back to walking. And then we also need to tell ladder that we're not on it anymore. But for now, on the ladder, let's call that function. So from the player, we will exit ladder. And since we want to move kind of like past the top of the ladder, we should turn off the collision as well. So for the static mesh, I'm going to set collision enabled, and we're going to do no collision. So we'll turn it off. And then also we need to turn off this begin overlap, otherwise it will keep playing the beginning of the montage. It will just keep doing it non-stop. So where are you? Box on set completely spaced out what is it called? Generate overlap events, that's it. Generate, so set generate overlap events and do false. We don't want to generate them. Exit animation ladder, do self-reference as well. And for now we can test it out as well. Obviously don't expect too much from this because we have to change a few things, but if you climb to the top and you actually reach the top part, you'll now play the animation, but you can see I'm falling down. And why am I falling down is because I said don't connect it to this one, but I did it anyway. And that is why I'm falling down. So only on completed. and then basically it will play this animation. I will go up. Now you can see it's falling through the ladder. It doesn't have nothing to stand on or anything like that. The collision is not enabled. And we want to actually move the player forward. And this is one of those things that I try to do with motion warping as well, which lets you move the player in the montages. But then you have to move the player actually a little bit up over the ladder and then forward. But that animation got the hands on the floor and it looked absolutely horrible. And then you kind of walk through the floor and stuff. So we're going to instead change the root motion of that animation and edit it so it actually looks quite nice when we exit the ladder. So if you still have the scene, which I've created in the last one, just open it, testing sequence, sorry, not scene, so sequence, get one of the characters with the idle animation, for example. I do have something open here, I'll remove it, select this one, add actor to sequence, add idle, remove control rig, and for the animation we're going to do climbing ladder exit. And then for the animation we need to actually, one thing here, this is one strange thing, that it gives us only 30 frames, but this animation is a bit longer. If you play it to 30 frames, no, it's actually, this one's fine. I feel like I did it when I was testing it out and it was giving me the wrong amount of frames, but this one seems to be fine. I'm going to Control Z where it was. Okay, so we do have this animation. Now we need to bake it to control rig. So right click on idle, bake to control rig, CR mannequin body, create. And as you can see, the root moves slightly bit forward, but other than that it doesn't move up, so it's staying on the same spot, and we don't want that. We want to set it up so it would be, the root will be where the hands are. So first of all, we are here, let's do root. I'm going to select the curves. This is a mess, so I'm going to remove all of these curves, and then once we climbing, so anytime the player goes up before it goes forward, so maybe here on frame 16 I'm going to move the root up to where player hands are, maybe slightly bit higher, key that in if you don't have this enabled, automatic keys. So key that in, and then from this point, it's too low by the way, so I need to go a bit higher, somewhere here. Key that in, and then from frame 16 I'm going to go a little bit forward until the end of the animation. So player will go somewhere, the root will go somewhere here. We can do it even further. Yeah, that's fine. And then add another key. Now let's see if that's going correctly. So it's going only up and then only right. Cool. So now I can just decrease this, remove this part. Nope. Just leave it as it is. End will be on the frame 30 or 30 something, 33, and then we can export it. So right click on this, bake animation sequence, go to third person animations, and this will be ladder exit new. Okay, export animation sequence, and let's see how is this one looking. First, in the ladder, I'm going to add one more thing. and that is to static mesh. We'll attach one more static mesh, add it as a child to the main one, and this will be exit platform. We will make this something here on this side to know where the ladder ends, but then this actual exit platform will be like a small plane that we can feed in the, you know, any other asset that we want to hide it in. So do cube or something. Cube, I'm going to position it up, make it very small, just like that, just so we know where the exit is. And obviously make it thin, so then whatever your asset is where the ladder is attached, this will be hidden inside it. So move it somewhere here, and probably on the top. Yeah. So exit platform. Cool. And now let's also in the ladder event graph, we are turning off the collision, that's fine. So just test it out. I didn't change the animation. So climb ladder exit. What was it? New. Ladder exit new. So right click, create montage. Create anim montage. And this is I don't know why I'm renaming it, just leave it as it is, ladder exit new. And then here we need to add it ladder exit new. And inside ladder exit new animation itself, not the montage, enable root motion. So we actually move with the root that we set up. Now if you play the game, we climb, I go all the way up, I touch it, it froze for a second. Alright, so now I actually managed to go in front and fall on the platform, but as you could see, I can only climb the ladder once, unfortunately, because we didn't set up overlap event again. But then his hands are starting way too high up, so this one we will, in the ladder itself, viewport, this one needs to go down. So maybe even somewhere here. Now climb up. That was almost good. Up. And that seems to be much better. So one more test. Yeah, so it's arms and it actually gets up on the ladder, and then you can just keep moving wherever you want. So if we are to for example add the platform, add shapes, cube, and this is how you would hide the default platform of the ladder. Oh, what happened? I'm in a sequence. So go that. Climb, grabs it, and I'm on top. That's it. And one last thing we can set up in this video quickly is go to third person interfaces, blueprints, interfaces, interact BPI, and we're going to do exit ladder or exited ladder, exit, just do exit ladder, that's it. Or is that gonna fight with the other function we have? I'm going to do ladder exited. And here from the player, in the exit ladder, we're going to call it, so exit ladder message, ladder exited, and target will be from the ladder reference. So it will send the message to ladder, and inside the ladder on event graph, we're going to do ladder exited, and we will just do these two things back to what it was. So collision, query and physics, collision enabled. I can't select it for some reason. There we go. And then generate overlap events. What happened here? Ladder exited. Ladder reference doesn't match. What you don't like? Okay, so I did name it in the end the same. Exit ladder, ladder reference, ladder exited. And here it's supposed to be exit ladder, not ladder exited, exit. It switched it for some reason. So ladder, exit ladder, here, ladder reference self. Yeah, cool. So that will turn the ladder back on, but just, yeah, so the overlap we can't really turn on like here. Control X, and it will be out of range. Turn on overlap. We will change it a little bit because obviously when you go back to the ladder from top, it will give you the animation again. So climb up, and then we can move here. But if I move back to range, we can climb again. Right. And then obviously anytime you reach that point there, it will climb the ladder, but we'll fix it as well. Just I think this video is very long, so I'll leave it for the next one. And we'll do little things like walking towards the ladder and fixing it, and so we can also go from the top. Alright, see you then. Bye.